Hi, and welcome back. Today we will continue on with chapter 22. Our lovely lady today is grandmother, and the year is 2004. So she has been a refugee now since 1979. And one of the things that I wanted to really communicate with this chapter is doesn't matter how long it's been since you've left your country. As a refugee, there's no place like home, and you'll always miss it. And just how difficult the transition is from leaving your country and going elsewhere. And at this time, there were still a lot of Hmong people who were leaving for the US and resettling there. And this is the first part that I'd like to share with you. Every day the women sew. They may be shaded from a searing sun or protected from monsoon drops. The sewing circle we have created in this foreign land helps to remind our fingers where they came from. To sew as we have always done and to get paid for it surprises me almost as much as it does the men. In the temple, just as in Ban Vinai, we are the main income earners, selling our Pandu story cloths to traders, while many of the men still struggle to find something to do with their hands. Our eyes are focused as our fingers travel over the fabric that recreates our stories. We talk, we listen, we discuss what is going on between the walls of our world and the family members who have ventured to the other side of the globe. Children who have learned to read use this valuable skill to inform family members of how their relatives abroad are faring. Aunts, sisters, mothers, and grandmothers in turn tell us from memory details of the letters that come from America. Through their lips, we hear how difficult the transition is from east to west. The letters, although written by different hands, speak with the same voice. They tell of traveling deep inside the stomach of an airplane. They discuss being terrified that they are trapped high in the sky. It reminds them of the secret war, when planes fell from the sky in flames. Eyes did not know if it was better to study the sky for unfriendly mountains or to squeeze their eyes shut and pray there were no evil spirits wandering the clouds. The Hmong people have flown across the ocean to a land far away. Their brains are filled with hope. They have gone to the land of the free. But from what we hear, freedom is more like a nice thought. Freedom has a lot of unfamiliar rules, and the American way is different from the Hmong way. I think of all the times I left my children when they were young to work in the fields. They had small jobs, and they played with the animals. They were fine, they were happy. But if parents leave children alone in America, they are bad parents and they can go to jail. In America, our people cannot walk as they used to. They have to wait for a light to tell them it's okay to move. Some cannot remember which light tells them it is time to cross the street, so they watch the Americans and follow them. If there are no Americans waiting to cross the street, they wait for one. They stand there and look at their feet, pretending that they are where they should be. They can successfully navigate over mountaintops and through the thickness of the jungle. Yet my people in America are unable to maneuver across their new city. The second part I'd like to share, and it was probably one of the biggest realizations that I had that came through traveling. I loved going to places where there weren't a lot of tourists. It felt new and fresh. And in Laos, there was this, in the north, a city called Luang Nantha. And you could go on a trek. And this is back in 2005, and this was very new. I think we were the fourth group to actually go up to this hill tribe village. And I clearly remember being so excited about visiting this place, and just because it was so different. And when I got there, we had to be very respectful, of course, because the village wasn't used to foreigners. And something like bathing, we had to be very modest and keep ourselves covered in sarongs. Well, the locals went to bathe in this watering hole, and that's where we went, covered with our sarongs and making sure that everything was modest. And me being me, and anyone who knows me will appreciate this. On the way to the watering hole, I lost my flip flop. When I got to the watering hole, because I was juggling so many things, I was one of the last people there and tried to keep modestly covered, and it kept exposing bits here and there. And when I finally finished having my bath and got out of the river, which I will add, the whole village was sitting on top of a hill watching us bathe. Like, it was just, I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And as it turns out, my backside was exposed the whole time, and my sarong was see-through. So I was absolutely mortified. And that whole story does make it into the novel, because for me, as I was saying, it was a real turning point. I had always thought other people were so interesting because they were different from me. And I really learned through this that everyone is the same, and different is that I was actually different to someone else. And again, maybe naive, but that was a big thing for me. So I thought I'd put it in the novel, but also wanted to show the beautiful relationship between grandmother and Bao. And with her wisdom, she would be the person who would be sharing this lesson with Bao. Oops. And this is, I will add, she's sharing this after this story has been told. I was able to insert my story into the novel because there are still among people that are leaving Laos. So this would have been a story that was shared from one of the new refugees coming into the camp, which they would do because everyone wants to hear what's going on. And this would have been quite a shock to grandmother, learning that her country, there's now treks up into her neck of the woods. There's no right or wrong way of living or believing. What's important is to respect the ways of others. I understand, grandmother, you said, nodding at me with your big solemn eyes. There are many eyes, eyes that look, eyes that judge, eyes that are glad they're not us, that our Laos is just a place that they come to visit for a short time. It's a place that makes people appreciate the worlds from which they come, their rich world and our poor world. But grandmother, we are poor, you said, in Lao and especially here at the temple. Bao, poor is in our hands. Poor is what we have in our hands. Rich is what we have in our hearts. We are very rich, Bao. We want to know what the foreigners think of the communist treatment of the Hmong, to which the new refugee replies, the foreigners only see what the government wants them to see. They only see the beauty of our nation. Everything else lies hidden, just as it was back when the bombs were falling from the sky. They really don't know? No, they really don't know. We do not understand how this is possible. And that's certainly how I felt. I couldn't believe that people were still running from the communists so many years after the Vietnam War was over. Tomorrow, we will go back to Isra, see how her plans are with Gordon. And thank you